Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP, and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekulona, and this is Nashville. Historic Jefferson Street is known to some Nashvillians, but not all. The street was once the home of music and entertainment in Nashville. It has seen tough times since a federal interstate split the neighborhood in two, cutting off communities and leading to a decline in business. The Jefferson Street Historical Society is changing that. It's a collective of community members, businesses, and property owners who are taking the lead in designing the future of Jefferson Street. So what does the future hold for Jefferson Street? We'd like to hear from you. When someone says Jefferson Street, do you know what it means and where it is? What's your experience with Jefferson Street? If you go there, what do you like about it? If you haven't been there, what would make you want to visit? What do you hope to see the area become? It's your turn to talk, so call us at 615-760-2000. Again, that's 615-760-2000. Now, I'd like to introduce our guests, three North Nashvillians. I'd like to welcome Mancini Holmes-Jones, the founder of the Jefferson Street Historical Society, CEO of Mojo Marketing and PR, and the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce's 2024 Nashpreneur of the Year. Welcome to the show, Mancini.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you,
Excited
Khalil.
to have you here. And coming back with us are two former guests of the show. Alicia Murzik is the member of the Jefferson Street Historical Society and owner of One Drop Ink Tattoo Parlor and Gallery. And Jordan Harris, also a member of the Jefferson Street Historical Society and owner of Ekulona Images, Nashville's only Black-owned bookstore. Good to have you both on the show again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now, Mancini, tell me this. How would you describe the changes that you're seeing in Jefferson Street area over the last few years?
The last few years, we got to include tornadoes. I think that was the crest right there where we started to, specifically Jefferson Street. Nashville had already started tearing down, moving, building, skinnies, et cetera. But 20 years, I say collectively, we saw major change. But I think at the tornado point, I realized lots of land was selling. I'm talking about four in a week, and I may be exaggerating, right? This lot. I was like, okay, what is going on, right? And so started having conversations with leaders and saying, there's this thing we could do to kind of preserve some things because this is such a historic street, the only place in America like this, right? And I think we saw not so much neglect, because I don't want to put that there. There was things happening infrastructurally, but 100% a lot of selling off of the original buildings. So that row look that we're used to on Jefferson Street, you don't see it between 8th and 12th anymore, right? Mm-hmm. It's completely a hodgepodge of mixed use. But you get to what we call the Arts District, where Alicia's One Drop Ink is. It's kind of steady, but those are some of the original buildings. But we do have a Cassie Gardner Park and some of the other things that have come in the last couple of years, like a pocket park. But then you get down to the other end, and that's the originals, which is what we call the entertainment district. That's where Jordan is, and it's there. So I think on the front of the street, I think we took on the energy of downtown heavy and how downtown was transforming and popping up new buildings. And I think I don't know if this is the right word, encroachment was starting to come onto Jefferson Street. And I was like, hold up, wait a minute. And so it got to 8th, it got to 10th, it got to 12th. And so we're at 12th, we're holding steady. Not that we don't want development, we love development, right? But we want development with culture and preservation and beautification considered. And so I think the changes brought not so much new business though. Right? Housing, we love housing. We know we need housing. And so we would love people to live on our street, but we also want the culture to stay. We want you to be able to walk to an art gallery. We want you to be able to go listen to a band on Monday night. But we also want you to eat outside a chicken thigh at Ooh-Wee and nobody sit there and say, I don't like them eating outside at the chicken wing at Ooh-Wee. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We don't want to change the culture, but we want development, if that makes sense.
I do want to get that a little bit later. Alicia, but what type of changes have you seen over the past few years?
Well, everything Mancini said for sure, but as somebody who's been on Jefferson for 13 years with my tattoo shop and have been both where we are now in Cossey Gardner building and down across from Jordan at the end of Jefferson Street, the changes are really paramount. And one of them is the fact that there aren't a lot of new businesses, like she said. And so as we continue to, try to stay in this area that we love, we would love for more things to be available for our customers. When we go, our customers come in, they need to get a food before they get their tattoo or their piercing, we can send them to places. We used to send them to Knockout, when Knockout's not there, so they have to go further and further out. And, we would really love to be able to have that walkability and connectiveness that, we used to have on the street. And I'm just, I'm excited about new developments, but I definitely want them to be available for us to actually use. So many new developments are out of our reach in so many parts of the neighborhood and in the city, wanting to purchase, commercial property so that I can continue to stay on Jefferson Street right now is not possible. So I would definitely want to make sure that we preserve some of the original owners of some of these spaces so that they can continue to rent to small businesses like us who, can't afford to pay corporate property price.
Now, Jordan, tell me, what do you like about any of the changes you've been seeing?
What do I like about the changes? I think the growth of Nashville has encouraged people to look into the city. I'm born and raised in Nashville, born at Meharry Hospital. And growing up, there was always a new place outside of town that everybody was talking about. When Brentwood became the go-to place to live. And in town in Nashville was just always underdeveloped. So I think what's interesting with the change and the growth in the city is that the eyes are looking into the city. I think millennials and just the younger generations don't want the acre lot single family homes to the same degree. They don't want to mow the lawn. So they want to be able to, take a Uber from the restaurant and have a drink and not have to drink and drive and reduce that stress so that city living is on the rise. And as a result, all of the neighborhoods in Nashville are in a new focus. And that's definitely the case for Jefferson Street, that, the access from Jefferson Street to the rest of the city is very high. Living in North Nashville, traffic is not an issue to the same degree that it is at other parts of town. So the value of that proximity is now being recognized. And that means that the opportunity comes with it. So the interest in being close to town is higher. And so the property values are up. But also the property values going up means that access to capital should change. So if you own some land that now is worth more, you should be able to find the money to do something with it. And I think that's a gap that we haven't recognized and started to address. So that's what's exciting to me, that, hey, there's demand, there's interest, and let's just follow up with making sure that we all have that access to make the changes that we want to see.
It's your turn to talk, and we want to hear from you about the future of Jefferson Street. Give us a call at 615-760-2000. Now, Mancini, and last year in 2023, you founded the Jefferson Street Historical Society. Can you first initially define the area of town? Like, what are the boundaries of Jefferson Street for those who don't know? Yeah,
definitely. I'm going to claim it, and I think all of my members would as well. We're going to start at the bridge. The bridge is called the Jefferson Street. Well, it's now the Keller Miller Smith Bridge, but Jefferson Street started at first. But at the foot of the bridge, in the heart of Germantown, all the way to TSU, is Historic Jefferson Street. That corridor is about 128 to 130 something parcels of land. That's Jefferson Street. That's what it was in 1865. It probably was a little more than that, truth be told, before the bridge came. But that's what we're honing in on, because we're honing in preserving history, culture. And so whatever it originally was, we want as much of that as possible to be included.
Why was it necessary to form this historical society?
It's definitely necessary. I think Nashville is historic as a city in so many different ways, but I think being able to highlight this one gem that wasn't getting the amplification that it is required to. If we think about the success of the institutions on the street, Fisk, Meharry, TSU, main cultivators of the issue, the street itself, but you have to think about the people who lived there and all the businesses that grew around it that helped to continue both the schools and the other entities. The world does not have that today, and it didn't have it, other than New York, 125th Street, right? Two comparisons of what we would call Black Wall Street survived through the last 50 years, and no one has said Nashville, Tennessee. No one has said Historic Jefferson Street. We all know 125th in New York, even if you haven't been on it, or you know Harlem, or you know that. But no one is shouting, and I say no one meaning from the world to even Nashville. So I love talking to folks, and even African Americans, and they'll be like, wait, y'all got how many on that? And I'm like, you live around the corner.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And so coming from, obviously I'm an amplifier, but also coming from a place where culture is a big deal, and having traveled, like many of you, I know that this is the gem. This is the reason Nashville can say they're Music City. We always talking about the history of who's been on the street, from the Temptations to Ella Fitzgerald to, Jimi Hendrix. We always talking about those folks, but that's why we calling it the Music City. In addition to Fisk Jubilee, because I don't want to take away from that. But at the end of the day, if we're not amplifying it and we're not making it the forefront, then why is it? So that's why we started. We started because we wanted to first preserve culture. We started because we needed to beautify the street. No one was doing it. And I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but collectively the city wasn't doing it, right? At the time. So there were, you can only do so much upon request of the neighborhood, et cetera, but no one had taken that leadership at the time. We can argue semantics over what organization, or et cetera, et cetera. But here today is there were different projects, but what we call beautification, lighting, street paving, foliage, just making sure that we're all on one accord when it comes to cleanup is a big deal. We have some major events on that street. 30,000 people come for a TSU homecoming. Cleanup should be regular if you know that you're a parade street, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it was needed.
All right, we're going to go to a call. We got Ron in Nashville. Ron, thank you very much for giving us a call. Ron, what's your comment or question?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. My question is, from the time I've been in Nashville since 94, I've loved Jefferson Street. There's a lot of history there. The question is, I make it brief, why haven't they made a lot of those buildings historic buildings where they would be preserved, and so that they can get the money to restore a lot of that to the historic, state that it was in back in the day. And who's the council person over there? Because I heard when I got here, because they put in that interstate there, it split the Jefferson Street, and it took away a lot of their representation because they're not really represented. So I'm just wondering, out of the two-part question, who's their councilman or council person, and can they make a lot of them buildings historic?
All right. Thank you very much for that. Jordan?
Yeah, so Jefferson Street has two council districts that overlay it. And the councilmen currently are Brandon Taylor and Jacob Coupin. And I guess to address the first question, I think it really starts with a sense of, value of self. To state that you need to make something historic, first you have to feel like it is valuable to be preserved. And I think what we have had a lack of in the area is to acknowledge the historical importance and value of our street. I think I spend a lot of time in the store learning from elders that come in about all the things that used to take place, and even just learning more about the importance of Fisk, TSU, and Meharry, and also Matthew Walker, the churches on the street. Nashville's central importance in a lot of things that happen in America are just under discussed. The SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, was founded in Nashville, are one of the major contributors to the civil rights movement. And we don't really talk about them very much. So I think it starts with the people on the street recognizing, hey, we're important, we matter, and we should be proud of that. And that's what you need to start off with, to then go to the city and say, hey, make us historic, to go to around the town and say, hey, give us money, but not even just give us money. we need to invest in ourselves to say, this is something that is worthwhile. And it starts from there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ekulona. It's your turn to talk. We're talking about the future of Historic Jefferson Street. My guests are Mancini Holmes-Jones, Alicia B. Morzik, and Jordan Harris. Pardon me. All are with the Jefferson Street Historical Society. We want to hear from you, so give us a call, 615-760-2000. Be like Ron. Call us up, 615-760-2000. All right, Alicia B., we've seen developers take interest, or what some people would call gentrification, into coming in and purchasing properties all over the city, but specifically Jefferson Street. How do you want people to really consider that when it comes to preserving this place and establishing something that is really going to be fruitful for the future, not just preserving what it is now, but something that will bear fruit for not just the neighborhood, but the entire city?
It's really going to be about making sure that when they come here, they include the people who are here in the process of developing new places and spaces. You can bring in people, but having the people who are here supporting what you're doing and being a part and being involved is going to be paramount to that. Like, if you're going to build a mixed-use development, approach some of the businesses on the street whose buildings are, in disrepair, and work with them on maybe collaborating in some way and bringing in new people. And I feel like that would be such an amazing thing to happen. And also get in with the community itself. Learn about some of the organizations. Organization that I'm also a part of is the North Nashville Arts Coalition. And we do the North Nashville Culture Crawl every year. And that involves every business, every organization on Jefferson, Buchanan, in Germantown, to collectively show the entire city and beyond how amazing North Nashville really is. And if developers and things really want to be a part of something that's going to grow for themselves as well as everybody who's already here, then them reaching out and being a part of things like that is really going to be a big part of it.
All right, talking about celebrations, I think, is something our next caller wants to do. Timothy, you are on the line with us. Thank you for calling, Timothy. What's your comment?
Thanks for the opportunity to be on the call. I'm just excited to hear about North Nashville being celebrated. And as a former resident of North Nashville and now still living here in the city, I'm really eager to find out how it is that we can amplify what's happening on Jefferson Street and how we can support these upcoming celebrations. I know that we just got past the celebration for the North Nashville, at Hadley Park for African Street Festival. I'm sure that there'll be other festivals that are coming up. How can we as a community come out and support?
All right, that's a great question. Thank you, Timothy.
Yes, Tim, thank you for calling in. Number one thing, Nashville's a Facebook town. Share the events. Follow Historic Jefferson Street Historical Society. We're posting events. The events are shared on these pages. I mean, we have some of the most iconic events happening: African Street Festival, TSU Homecoming. We have a Holiday Village coming in the fall, Culture Crawl. These events are being posted. We want to share you with your organizations, with your workers. Another times people don't take it to the office. Take it to the office for me, because everybody who's in the mix in, let's just be honest, Black Nashville may see it in the 7-layer cake of what Black Nashville is. But I want you to bring it to the office. Share with that coworker who's like new to town, or the one who's like, I didn't know they had that. I mean, Hadley Park is Hadley Park. Everybody knows Hadley Park, but getting to Hadley Park is not hard, as people would say. There's 2 exits to get to Hadley Park. So there's so many events happening. There's even Jazz in the Park on Saturday mornings for the kids. There's a lot of things happening on Jefferson Street and off of Jefferson Street. So I think it's about sharing with our new friends and our new natives so they can help us to amplify. That'll be a good way.
7-layer cake of Black Nashville. I like that. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll explore the deep history of Jefferson Street to understand why it's so important to Nashvillians and why that history needs to be shared. And we also want to hear from you, so give us a call, 615-760-2000. That's 615-760-2000 to talk about the future of Historic J Street. We'll be right back.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekulona, and this is Nashville. It is your turn to talk Thursday. We have opened up the phone lines to hear from you. Today, we're talking about Historic Jefferson Street. What does the future hold for this stretch of road with a legendary history that has created a foundation for many Nashvillians? My guests are members of the Jefferson Street Historical Society. Again, I want to thank Moncherie Holmes-Jones, Alicia Morozic, and Jordan Harris for being here. Thank you all for being here. All right, and as I said, it's your turn to talk. So call us to answer it. When someone says Jefferson Street, do you know what it means or even where the street is? What's your experience with Jefferson Street? If you go there, what do you like about it? If you haven't been there, what would make you want to visit? And what do you hope to see the area become? You can give us a call at 615-760-2000, 615-760-2000. Now, before I get to your personal histories with Jefferson Street, Jordan, you recently said that described this time as an urgent moment for Black Nashville. What do you mean by urgent moment?
Yeah, so as Nashville has begun to change so rapidly, it's a question about not just Black Nashville, but older Nashville. People are coming to Nashville seeking success as Nashville is its city and there's a lot of growth. But and I notice when talking to people that all they think about are the negatives, like, oh man, house prices are so high, traffic is bad. But it really behooves us to think about the opportunity. Like I said earlier, that property values are up, and in North Nashville, Black people own those houses. It's something that's a little different from large cities like New York, where a lot of people are renting. When property values go up in our neighborhood, that means that we have new capital to deploy. And some of that issue is that, okay, let's actually recognize the value that we have and recognize the power in that to see those changes that we want to see. It's up to us to deliver them. I think a little bit of the time we put a they. We use a third person pronoun to talk about they need to do this and they don't do that. And in reality, at this point in time, Black Nashville has the highest incomes that it's had ever. And we have to recognize the power in that and recognize the freedom that allows us to, see, as a cliche, be the change we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I like that because what you shared kind of goes in line with this quote we got from Dr. Chris Jackson, pastor of Pleasant Green Church on Jefferson Street. He says, quote, "The Jefferson Street Renaissance is real and on the way. My hope is that a great history and culture of the past will be respected and preserved while also making space for the exciting new vibes and perspectives of the current and future generation." So taking advantage of that newfound capital, newfound financial status from people on Jefferson Street and in North Nashville and putting that to action. I do want to understand the history, you all's personal history a little bit with this street. Now, Alicia B., you've been a business owner on Jefferson Street for 13 years, One Drop Inc. Why did you locate your business there?
Well, my story getting started was that I didn't have good credit. I had a dream, idea, and some talent, and a local property owner gave me an opportunity to open up a business. She saw my proposal and she allowed me to do that without having any of those criteria. And that, homegrown, self-owned building is the only way that would have been possible. If I would have went in and tried to do a traditional renting at a commercial facility, I would have been denied. But because I was able to get an opportunity, Jefferson Street gave that to me, as well as the people in North Nashville supported my business and needed it. There was no tattoo shop serving people of color in Nashville. We're the first Black tattoo shop in Middle Tennessee. I'm the first licensed Black tattooer in Middle Tennessee. And Jefferson Street has always been there to support us. And now the current space that we're in is also very historic. It's the Cassie Gardner building. Landlord is the granddaughter of Cassie Gardner Sr., and I love her. She wants to continue to hold that building, rent to locals like myself, and also, her connection with this street has also deepened my own, telling me stories of her grandfather and his work with his funeral home, as well as with his serve people around when they were dots and things like that. See, love Jefferson Street. I love North Nashville, and I know potential and talent and energy here that's just been needing the resources to be able to thrive.
Thank you so much. All right, the phones are lighting up. I want to let you know, if you're on the phones, please hold on, let it ring. We are going to get to you. I'm going to let you do something I never do. I'm going to let you know what who are. I got Keith, I got Jamel, then I got Jonathan. So we're going to come to you, Keith, first. Keith, thank you for calling. What is your question, my friend?
I'm from California, moved out here in Clarksville, Tennessee now, and we have a family reunion. What am I going to tell my people from all over the country when they come for the family reunion about Jefferson Street?
You want the history of Jefferson Street? Yeah. All right, Mon Cherie, give Keith the brief rundown of history of Jefferson Street.
1865, basically the soldiers came and they settled. That's as far back as we go from knowledge base. And from there, in true Black culture, the folks decided to build their own and build their businesses and build their families, and they lived in that area. And then it became, what we do. It became our place where we hang, and music became, the focus. And there was a juke joint in the space. And then we heard of the historic Elks Lounge and all of these other things that have developed over time. But it was where music was developing and Black business was developing. And of course, the universities was helping that. As we move forward into the civil rights period, obviously this is where we were meeting and having conversations. There was trouble on the street from time to time, but it was where we lived, where we worked, and where we ate, and went to church. I mean, sometimes we tell this story without telling the historic church story. From Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist to Clark, all the way Pleasant Green, and we even include 15th Avenue Baptist Church because it's right there. Our churches in Nashville have done so well, specifically our Black churches, to make sure the communities was built out of the work that they did in the church. So they wasn't just building up the church, they were building up the community. And it was new, it was good, it was safe, it was protected. And as such, now we're moving forward into a place where it is a place you can learn all of this history that I'm halfway telling you, because there's probably millions of stories that we can't even touch, from Tina Turner having a deed off of the street on one of her properties to Ella Fitzgerald recording her live album on the street. All of these things that we can go every step. I told the team, I said, we can't have a historical marker on every corner, because that wouldn't be accurate.
There's no space to walk, huh?
There's no space to walk, right? So my point is, every step you take on historic Jefferson Street is a historic moment. And so if you understand that, then you will have time to talk and learn and we have tour guides that can help take you down this strip, and then you're going to eat good on Jefferson Street. So we may not be eating as well as they used to cook back in the day, but the new restaurants and the restaurants we have today are doing well, and they're always packed. So you can always come and do that as well.
Mon Cherie, is there a website that Keith can go to find out more?
We have a couple websites, but right now, if you go to Historic Jefferson Street with the ST.org and sign up, we'll make sure you start getting that newsletter.
All right, Keith, do that and take the family when they come in to visit. Thank you so much for giving us a call, my friend. We're going to move on to Jamel in North Nashville. Jamel, thank you for calling, my friend. What are your questions?
Yes, I have a twofold question. The first one, as the downtown district is continuing to expand, how do we stop downtown from consuming what's left of Jefferson Street? And then my second question is as the city continues to make money, how do the speakers see the city fairly compensating those who have been displaced by the city's continuing taking over of Jefferson Street?
All right. Thank you for that.
Okay, so on the first question regarding how do we stop downtown from kind of consuming North Nashville, I think really for me, the opportunity is to highlight that Nashville needs North Nashville. Nashville needs a counterbalance to Broadway. People come into town, they do Broadway, they have a good time, but then they want to do something different. You can't do Broadway all day, every day, all week, right? You need somewhere else to go. And that's where I see the importance of North Nashville coming in, and specifically with Jefferson Street. We have the history, but we also have the today, and we have the presence, and we have the access to downtown, so that tourists don't have to travel an hour to get here. We're 5 minutes away, but we can provide something that is a diverse, and when I say diverse, I just mean different experience. We have the history, we have the culture that can balance the honky tonks and the country music, and Nashville needs that as tourism grows and booms. in the bookstore every week, people come in because they came to town, they did Broadway, and they're like, I needed to find something else to do. And they find us on the internet, and then they come in and ask us, well, where else can we go? And so that demand is there. And that's going to be very valuable for the city going forward if we can grow ourselves up to be another pillar to the tourist experience.
All right. We're going to go. Thank you very much for that question, Jamel. We're going to move on to Jonathan in Murfreesboro. Jonathan, thank you for holding. What is your question, my friend?
Well, it's twofold. Number one, I have always wondered about the route that Diane Nash took from Fisk to the courthouse, the old courthouse in Nashville, in her build-up to the Freedom Ride. I would suspect that march took place right down Jefferson Street. I think that would be the most logical route, and I think it's a very historic nature of Jefferson Street as well. Just a comment. Number two, is any historic overlay like they have in Germantown being considered? That has protected Germantown's historic nature very well, and it actually skirts Jefferson Street on the south. So I wondered if any of that had been considered as in a historic overlay as to zoning.
Yes, thank you for that, Jonathan. We have. That was our first main endeavor out of the gate. What we learned is that because in the last 20 years, we lost 60% of the original buildings because due to development, we were not able to do a full street historic overlay. We do have endeavors on certain areas, which will be what we call that Arts District, where Kasi Gardner is, including Fisk Jubilee. And of course, Fisk as a university has a couple different things, but we're trying to get a corridor within the street since we don't have the original building. So we'd probably start at about 14th and go all the way to 2028. And that would include the historic Citizens Bank, the oldest black bank in America, over 100 years. And so we're trying to just make sure that we can, that's one of our strategies, but we cannot do the whole street, which ideally we wanted to, but we can't.
All right. Thank you so much for that call, Jonathan. We're going to go to a call in Jerome. Real quick, Jerome is in North Nashville. I think I know which Jerome this is. Jerome, what's your comment, my friend?
What's going on, man? Look, I got a question. What can native Nashvillians like myself, native North Nashvillians like myself do to promote the growth of Jefferson Street and the future of Jefferson Street?
I'll take that one. Yes. So what I think about is that, when you spend your money, you vote. And where money is being spent, then investment follows. So, and also, you don't need to spend your money blindly. You can, because we have small businesses, you can talk to us. You can come and say, hey, I like what's going on and it could be better. And just encourage that consistency, and then bring people and highlight what good times you have. And that's what we're kind of doing. That's definitely the work Alicia was doing with this cultural crawl, activating the spaces in the neighborhood so that people have a reason to go the first time, and then can discover the reasons why they can go the second and third time. So I think, the core of keeping business open is customers. And as we, grow and seek to improve, that input from customers and from residents like yourself is valuable.
All right. Thank you for that call, Jerome. Now, Alicia, break down the North Nashville culture crawl that's taking place pretty soon.
Yes, absolutely. So this is our second year. We originally started as the Jefferson Street Art Crawl, where we, myself and 7 other artists, we all just volunteered to make a space for Black creatives in Nashville where there was none. And using my space, One Drop Ink, and some of the other businesses on Jefferson like Woodcuts Gallery and Framing, RIP Nathaniel Harris, we were able to make that happen. And so last year, when the pandemic hit and everything changed, last year we decided to revamp the crawl in a new way because we wanted to include all of North Nashville because the creative legacy here is phenomenal. It's so strong. So on October 18th through the 20th, 2024, you can come out for a weekend full of activations and performances. Over 30 different performances, workshops, talks, and activations are going to be happening on Jefferson, Buchanan, and at 100 Taylor in Germantown. We've got complimentary shuttle service. We've got so many things going on, and everybody really needs to be a part, because the goal is to highlight not only the creatives, but also the businesses and the culture of North Nashville. Like, we have everything you need here, and we really want to invite everybody to be a part and experience that.
Where can people find out more?
People can find out more at northarts.org or on our Instagram, 37208creates.
All right. I want to thank my guests, Moncherie Holmes-Jones, Alicia Morozic, and Jordan Harris, all with the Jefferson Street Historic Society. Thank you all so much for being here today, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, we're going to take one last break. When we come back, we'll explore the Jubilee Bridge Area Revitalization Project, its history, the opportunities that currently exist, and the future. And we want to hear from you, so give us a call, 615-760-2000. We'll be right back. I'm Khalil Ekulona, and this is Nashville. Built in 1981, the Jubilee Singers Memorial Bridge in North Nashville was built to safely and efficiently usher traffic over active train tracks. At that time, this was especially important because emergency vehicles like ambulances heading into Nashville's General Hospital and fire trucks that serve the area would often get stuck at the tracks for very long periods of time. Now, the bridge is also the west side corridor to Fisk University and Meharry Medical College that leads directly to historic Jefferson Street. Joining us now to discuss the plan to revitalize and activate the bridge and area that surrounds it are Fatia Suso, founder and director of the World Africultural Community Project and coordinator of the Jubilee Bridge Area Revitalization Project, and Ed Henley, founding principal of Pillars Development and member of the Bridge Revitalization Project. Thank you both for being here. Welcome to This is Nashville.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Really great to have you both. And we love to have you give us a call at 615-760-2000 to let us know, have you ever taken the bridge? Did you know what the bridge was named when you were on it? How would you like to see the bridge preserved? And what would you like to see? How would you like to see the legacy of Jefferson Street grow? Okay, Fatia, tell me this. When you speak about the Jubilee, I should give everybody the phone number. I'm moving on. Look at me. 615-760-2000, 615-760-2000, so we can hear from you. All right, now, Fatia, when you speak about the Jubilee Bridge and this memorial bridge, you really talk about it with an incredible amount of reverence. And it's not just a bridge, it's a gateway to kind of the historic North Nashville area that we were just discussing with our previous guests. The bridge is named after Fisk University's Jubilee Singers, who began touring all over the world in 1871 to raise money. Earlier on, they ran into Queen Victoria in England, who gave the name of Nashville itself. You must be from the Music City.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit more detail about what happened there.
As far as
the impact of that trip for Fisk.
It put Fisk on the map. It introduced the Jubilee Singers to the world. And just the whole act of having a group of Black performers with these beautiful voices to, be able to sing these songs and, address these songs to perform these songs in front of, all types of audiences. So it was something that really just put Fisk on the map at that time. You really speak about it with this reverence and you love it. What does it mean to you to have this bridge named after these Fisk Jubilee Singers? I think it's beautiful. It was a while before I knew it. The signage was not very clear, and I happened to see it one day, but I crossed that bridge I don't know how many times and never knew that it actually had a name to it. So when I saw that it was named after the Jubilee Singers, I thought that was amazing. I thought it was really beautiful. What caused you to head up this revitalization project? Oh, a couple of different things. So I I started my organization, and then I'm like a closet artist. I'm an artist who dreams a lot in color and sees all the art, but I'm not necessarily one who can do it. But I became interested in public art, and I wanted to know, as a longtime resident of Antioch, how can I bring public art to Antioch? But I'm a person of prayer, so I was praying about it like, okay, God, where can I do something? What can I do? And I happened to be going across the bridge. I was going to pick my mother up from church one day, and she goes to church in went to church in North Nashville. And crossing the bridge, as I've done many, many, many times over the 30-something years I'd been here, or the almost 30 years at that time that I had been here. And I'd always wondered why that bridge was not as attractive as other bridges in Nashville. Why did they never rebuild it, or why didn't they make it look better as they've done other bridges, And I just was like, my God, this bridge is just so, and I don't want to offend anybody, but ugly. And I said, well, I wonder what can be done. What can they ever do anything about it? And it was like this gong went off, like, this is your project. Like, God was telling me, this is your project. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. And it just went from seeing maybe art added to it, because I admired the artists in the area who were creating murals all over, and I just saw it as a spot that maybe artistically some of the history of North Nashville, or Nashville in general, as far as Black contributions, can be told on that bridge. So it started from wanting to see art on it to becoming this big vision. And I showed you the renderings before, and just really elevating that bridge so it competes with other bridges we have here that have been rebuilt or built newly, but it becomes more of a staple for the community that really says you're entering the sacred ground, which is the home of historic Fisk University and historic Meharry Medical College, which are right across the street from each other.
All right. Now, and Ed, the revitalization project is called a placekeeping project. Okay, so besides the bridge itself, what other areas are included in the project?
Absolutely. So we have a wonderful opportunity to look at beyond the bridge. And I think due to a great amount of work from Tatia, we found out that there's other spaces in the public realm that we can engage and activate. And so immediately adjacent to the bridge is actually calling it a parking lot is probably giving it too much credit. But a property formerly used as a parking lot and had quite honestly become a bit of a dumping ground and kind of a island that was no man's land. But then also the area under the bridge, the extension of the roadway and the network, and really creating an opportunity to engage the railroad track, as you mentioned in the previous segment, that has been active for many years. But there's actually, public property that aligns that, as well as Fisk property that is adjacent to it, and just really creating a sense of place. And you talk about placekeeping, you have some great opportunities to really activate with the bridge truly being that gateway, and just creating an acknowledgement for the entire area around it.
What's on your wish list for the project in the area?
Well, I think there's two things that I really think would make a huge statement. And we've heard the term gateway a lot in the segment beforehand, and then also hearing about how Fatia, you cross that bridge so often and nothing really speaks to you. And I think for me, it's really adorning the bridge in a way that you have a sense, there's reverence there, but really creating it in a way that it speaks to you. And then the park area that we have envisioned and we've been working with a lot of collaborators on, because then, a bridge is a corridor, right? It's meant to traverse. But the park as a gathering space, right? A place where people can come together as a community. It is not private property, it's public property. So that means it's for everyone to be able to appreciate, and it's meant to accommodate all. And I think those two things together, right? The adornment, something that gives you a sense of reverence and a sense of arrival, and then that gathering place. You can arrive and you can stay, right? And those are the two things that are really big on my wish list. And I think they complement each other fantastically.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ekulona. We're talking this hour about the future of Jefferson Street and the Jubilee Singers Memorial Bridge. My guests are Fatia Suso and Ed Henley. Both are with the Jubilee Bridge Area Revitalization Project. We want to hear your thoughts, so give us a call, 615-760-2000. All right, Fatia, what's part of your wish list?
Pretty much what Ed said, as well as the previous guests. Alicia, Mancini, and Jordan, just speaking about preserving the history, preserving the cultural contributions of what the whole Jefferson Street corridor means to not just Nashville, but the country. Being able to boost up the cultural pride of the community. Mm-hmm. When you have an area that is just historically blighted and overlooked, and then you have others coming in and taking over and wiping away what's been there, it's hard for people to have hope for their community. So I want this to be something that really helps the community members to know that where they live, where their previous generations have lived, perhaps, it means something. And we recognize that, and we want them to know, especially, that this is something that everybody needs to recognize.
Tell me this, what are the plans for revitalization of the bridge?
So first, starting with the bridge is the anchor of the whole vision. So elevating that as far as, adding to the landscape of it, acknowledging the Jubilee Singers on it, so having like photographic images of them, maybe a timeline of the Jubilee Singers on one side, on the other side, perhaps images that acknowledge some of the history or other places in North Nashville or Greater Nashville, actually. Mm-hmm. Also, the 19th Avenue parking lot, as mm-hmm. Ed mentioned, there on the northwest corner of the bridge, we are actually in the process of finally being able to start a phase 1 update to that space where it'll be parking lot, but also the 1/3 of that parcel that's closest to the bridge we're going to make it into a parklet. And that is, as we continue working toward the permanent plan to convert that space into a park, we're going to make that into a parklet so it becomes useful space for the community that can be activated, as well as the Herman Street underpass. And then also there's the Black Heritage Walk, as we heard our previous guests, Alicia, Mancini, and Jordan, speaking about how the history of North Nashville needs to be more amplified, mm-hmm. and there is no real space for that. We get a little space in the museum, or we have the Music Museum downtown now, which just covers music, but what about the other history? Mm-hmm. So the Black Heritage Walk is and I like the way Ed describes it.
Yeah, no, I always call it's the walk through. It's to walk through our historical context, right? It is our history alive, and it speaks to all the generations that are here now, that have been, and that will come. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to just have that connection to the space. When we talk about ushering in, the type of development that we're seeing in a lot of places, I feel like that's the space that makes the statement, right? When you have the message and the calling card. We had a caller call in and they said, tell me what I need to tell people when they come to Nashville mm-hmm. to see. That's the walk. The Heritage Walk is what you go there to see. And it tells you all the history. It tells you the stories. It gets you excited about everything that's happened, everything that's currently going on, and then it just inspires you for the future.
It's a lot of work you both are engaged in. What keeps you both encouraged, Ed?
Well, for me, it's personal but also professional. I've built a firm around the concept of community-focused development and service and stewardship. And quite honestly, I'm a native Nashvilleian. I grew up in the 37208 zip code. I know what it means as a stigma. I know what it means to come from that community, and people expect so much less of you. But I also know there's so many great things there. And quite honestly, it's just a fantastic opportunity for that community to speak for itself. and to show a lot of pride, as we've heard before, but also to show its creativity and to show that it can get things done. I believe it is something that can be an impetus for so many further things to happen, and that's what keeps me motivated. Is it that very first domino? It needs to happen.
All right, Fatia.
But I wanted to add before I answer that, as far as the Black Heritage Walk, so it is an open air space meant to be a destination.
Okay.
It was originally envisioned to be part of the 440 Greenway extension. And so that's still a little bit up in the air, but it will start around the Jubilee Bridge area. And now I'm proposing that it goes through different communities and it's placed in the different neighborhoods. But what keeps it going, and we're working on this, but we also have other partners. So we've got partners with Metro. We've got the HBCU Community Development Action Coalition out of Miami with the Brownfields grant.
Okay.
We've got Civic Design Center.
All right, that's great. Wonderful. We're going to have to end it there. Fatia Suso and Ed Henley are with the Jubilee Bridge Area Revitalization Project. Thank you both for the work you're doing and being with us today. And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville. It's a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Mary Mancini and yours truly. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operators, Liv Lombardi. Catherine Cece's helped out on the phones. The masterminds behind our theme music are Laurent and Namir Blade. Special thanks to you for all of your calls. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. And the conversation does not end here. Tweet us on This is Nashville. Find us on Instagram. Tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online. You can also call us to leave us a message at 615-751-2500. We may use your message on air. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil Ekulona. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. And be good to each other.